Christine?
Okay, so we're ready. I'm Christine Bauer-Ramazani. I'm the lead moderator of this next session called Delivering Best Practices, or as we call it in our team, DBP, in distance and blended courses. This year, our session was revised and updated from last year based on some of the feedback that we got, and also because we know that this is still a very important topic in the field for teachers to know how to navigate both blended and distance environments. So my co-moderators this year included most from last year, Sue, Annan, Larisa Olesova, Christine Sabieh, and Jack Watson, and new this year is Naglaa. And okay, now I'm trying to navigate. Okay, here's a little bit about us. And all my co-moderators are in the session, so they will speak. Okay, here are our email addresses. Our session ran, as you know, from January 8th to February 12th. And I thought it was important to let you know what the proposal abstract was for our session. So according to best practices and quality standards, participants will learn how to design and deliver a distance or blended course site with optimal content and tools. And examples and options were given, and participants showcased their work at the end. Our target audience was not beginners, but intermediate teachers with intermediate level of technology expertise, especially regarding learning management systems, because it's not easy to start a whole course. And as you see in the session objectives, they were expected to implement tools for interaction, tools for collaboration, and then build all of those into their own Canvas course site and develop one module with following best practices in technology, but also very importantly, following best practices in pedagogy. We also wanted them and made them familiar with quality standards and expected to see those in their own Canvas course site and in their module. They also had to learn about and had to respect copyright guidelines in their own Canvas course site, as well as implement feedback that they got from us on their modules. And now I'm turning it over to Sue.
Our plan was to model best practice for teachers who needed help in setting up robust online lessons. We wanted them to create their own Canvas account and to present just that one module, including a tasks and assignments page, which incorporated best practice ideas with the interaction and collaborative tasks. At all times, we, the moderators, modeled best practice to encourage the same from our participants, who came from many different countries, which I'll pass over to Larisa to explain.
Okay, thanks, you. So this chart represents the participants of our session who joined from 7 different regions, and the highest number, as you see, of the participants joined from Asia, Europe, followed by Central West Asia. Next slide. Thanks you for creating this nice diagram. And this map shows our participants and moderators locations. And you can see that the participants and moderators join from all over the world, with the majority of them located in and around Europe. Next slide.
Realizing that the 5 weeks were full, we added a registration week. And then the first week was actually just an orientation around the Canvas site, reading about best practice, which of course we were modeling throughout. In week 2, we allowed the participants to create their own site and start adding their tasks and assignments. The following 2 weeks looked at the tools to add interaction and collaboration, as well as plagiarism and copyright. We then wanted them to have a show and tell as the final week. And Christine will be able to explain what informed our course.
Next slide. So the next few slides, what you will see is how we use the theories and the research to support and basically mold our course design on best practices and distance and blended learning. So what you see in front of you here is a compilation of the different theories that we use: behavioral, cognitive, social, behavioral, and learning theories and strategies. And what we did was we had our participants work theory to practice, interacting with their peers and tutors, collaborating, and reflecting with each other as they planned and mapped their own courses that they were going to design. Keeping in mind their students, they designed the one module that we were having them work with, and we were giving them feedback, and together they grew and we grew with them. Their peers gave them feedback, we gave them feedback, they worked together as a group, and each week they met the different learning outcomes. So throughout the course, they were working to work towards one end product, which was the project-based learning outcome, which was a module that they had to work with. So each week they read, discussed, reflected, shared with each other. They received feedback and they created plans to move them on to the following week using the technology, the theory, and the models that we were mentoring, scaffolding with them, and collaborating. They were interacting, and they moved from week to week, from across the 5 weeks. So from here on, Christine will talk about the approaches that we used to integrate the technology into their teaching and learning. Christine?
Yep, thank you. So we have 2 Christines in our session, which
Yeah. I'll be back again.
Yeah, sometimes it was cool to have 2. In any case, from theory to practice involved incorporating technology into teaching and learning. And the TPAC model is central to doing that. And TPAC consists of 3 components. One is technological knowledge, the other one pedagogical knowledge, and the third one is content knowledge. And all of them are based around particular content, which in our case is, of course, ESL or certain topics in ESL or EFL. And then there is a sweet spot where they all intersect. And this, of course, is what we were all aiming for and also trying to train our teachers to aim for. It's not just about technology. It's not just about the tools. It is about putting all 3 of those together. And by the way, this model is based on Mishra and Kohler, and the resources and the links are at the end. So this is a screenshot of what the participants were expected to do in the first week. but also this models what each week looked like. So the central part of each week is an overview, tasks and assignments page. And it has a due date, which meant by the end of that week or by that due date, everything had to be completed. And then each week, each task and assignments page had a topic. So each week, the topic changed and focused on different things. Each week also had goals and learning outcomes, and they needed to be stated, as you know, in the SWABAD format. By the end of the week, participants will have done this or that. And in this case, in week 1, they learned about best practices. They explored the Canvas site. They also set up their own Canvas site. They set up their profile and shared their course site. So then we had live meetings each week, as you can see here. They also needed to include readings each week and discuss them. So there was a limit of, there was a minimum of 1 reading. There was no limit, but a minimum of 1 reading per week that they had to discuss. And then there were various discussion topics where they had to share. And in this example, it was in week 1, sharing previous experience with distance or blended teaching. And next, Christine is going to tell us more about the theory.
So our focus was getting our participants to work from a practical point of view, take the theory and put it into practice. So our focus was getting them to be able to apply things using their students as their models. So with that in mind, we needed to work on getting the activities with the use of the digital tools and using thinking skills from lower order to higher order. And with that in mind, content learning was based on outcome for practice, and we relied heavily on Bloom's taxonomy, as you see in front of you. So they had to digest the knowledge of the theory and then figure out what would best be suitable for their students, keeping in mind the lower order thinking skills before moving to the higher order. And of course, everything that they gave and took with us had to be based on real life examples. And when they reflected and commented using their readings, using their peers, the give and take with their peers, they had to keep in mind, how would this feed into their work in their module that they were working on? So they were engaging theory with practice, with the digital tools that they were being exposed to week by week, to keeping in mind best practices. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Other way. Next slide.
Yeah, I know, Christine, I'm trying, my computer is not cooperating. I'm trying the arrows and there.
No. Back one.
There.
Okay, so here's an example how we use the theories to help them work with practice. So this is just an overview. I took some examples across the different weeks just to showcase for us how things work. So what you see in the yellow part, the table shows that our tasks were planned And as Christine showed you the pages, everybody received the same type of pages every week. So in that first column, you see the plan tasks that led the participants into plan their week in relation to their projects. And the action that they had to do, different actions. Sometimes they read, sometimes they shared information in the form based on clicking on links or using technology and then sharing on the form. Sometimes they created activities. Sometimes they shared and reflected. Sometimes they just created activities using collaboration. Or engagement, depending on what they were working on at the time. For example, the last week they were presenting their module. So depending on what the action they were asked to do, they then practiced. So here came the theory part. They were practicing knowledge comprehension. Let's say week 2, another example was they were showing us knowledge with application, use of content, plus technology, etc. So as you can see across the weeks, they were taking what they were doing in terms of action, putting in the practice based on theory, knowledge of content that they were developing, and then they were allowing us to map out what kind of theories or what theories they were using to help build their course. So they use Bloom, they use behaviorism, they use TPAC, social learning theory, across the weeks.
Next is Sue.
We did have a number of teachers who actually weren't very tech savvy, which was a bit of a problem, and they needed the extra help. But I think also it might have been something to do with the whole fact that the beginning was then very steep for them. And it meant that lots of teachers fell by the wayside. As other people have said, we had a group of people who signed up and then never took part at all, which is really not on. We made sure that we had rubrics. The rubrics were accessible by everybody, and that meant that the participants knew what they were being tested on, and the moderators were able to test very, very clearly according to the rubrics. And at the end of the course, we had 7 participants who completed to everyone's satisfaction. But 3 of them shared their session. We got them to put their presentations on Flip, and Larisa has made a very enjoyable video that you'll be able to watch in a minute.
First, Naglaa is going to tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so as pointed out by Sue, 7 participants concluded the session with a certificate for having completed successfully all tasks and fulfilled all requirements. On average, though, 20 participants were actively engaged each week in the forum discussions and submitted their tasks, which offered us participants as well as moderators a valuable opportunity for learning and growing. The finalists, however, received their certificate for having created a Canvas course modules for their learners, which included a tasks and assignment page that reflected a clear concept for their teaching model, and incorporated a variety of online tools to promote interaction as well as collaboration among their learners. And in week 5, they put together, as was mentioned, a presentation to explain their best practices and the rationale behind each part. Next, Jack will walk us through the feedback we have received from our participants.
Good day, everyone. Here's a screenshot of some of the comments that the finalists posted on our Padlet wall, reflecting on the course and what they had learned. Items mentioned: close connection with the team members, team's patience and polite responses, feeling that this course was as if it was delivered in person, learned more than expected, excellent modeling of activities, high standards, best teaching practices, appropriate behavior and attitude, role models in TESOL. Over to Naglaa.
All right, thanks, Jack. So here is an overview of the 5 final modules recorded on Flip, as Sue mentioned earlier, by our 7 finalists. One of the modules was developed by a team of 3 participants from Kazakhstan, and you can watch their presentations on Flip using this join code. And now the next slide, Larisa will show us some clips of their wonderful work.
Yeah, just relax and watch this video. There should be the sound, but it's fine.
Oops. Okay, let's see if we can get back to the presentation. Okay. I may have to restart sharing. Okay, Naglaa, maybe you or Larisa could start
Yeah,
it.
for sure. Yeah, there we go.
We're almost at the end here. So the final slide is about, I'm going to stop sharing, sorry. The final slide shows, what we're planning for 2024. And you can just take a look at it. Very importantly, we want to add office hours to individualize and customize our feedback a little bit more, and increase the focus on assessment. The trouble that some people had was in the area of tasks, the tasks and assignments page, and we will focus more on that by doing some screencasts. So with that said, I cannot go to the next page, but the last page shows here was a great session. And if you have questions about the finalist products and their presentations, our finalists are in the audience. So with
Thank you. Thank you so much. Christine, or any of the team members, maybe you can add the video of the feedback video to the conference
Oh, yeah, it's in the,
That would be great.
presentation,
Yeah,
but
it's
okay.
embedded in the
Okay.
slide.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to hear it and not just see it. I don't know what's going on with Zoom. So thank you. Thank you so much, team.
And great to hear you will be